Number two, you need to be strong in the will of the Lord. Many times we think knowing the will of God is all it takes. Yes, it's very, very important to know the will of God on every matter in our lives. But many times the will of God will go counter to our culture. It will go counter to our self-interest. It will go counter to our principles. It will go counter to our tendencies, inclinations, and even our proclivities. The will of God is the express being of God within a space. So the Bible gave us a warning in our Isaiah chapter 55, remember? He said from verse 8, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your own ways. For as high as the heavens are from the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. So in every single matter, the question is, knowing the will of God is very, very important, but that is just half of the thing that needs to be done. Knowing the will of God also demands upon us to comply by living out the will of God. And to do that, you need strength. And there are many times if you think that you have known what God wanted you to do, but you just didn't have the strength to do it. There are many times you are not in doubt as to what God will want you to do within that situation. Whether it's a moral dilemma, whether it is a tough situation that needs to be unknotted, you knew what God would want you to do at that moment. Many times, the problem that Christians have is not ignorance of the will of God, but the power, the will power to do His will, to align their will to His, because many times His will is not convenient. His will appears to go counterculture, and His will demands strength that is uncommon to execute. That exactly is true. So the Bible told us in our Romans chapter 12, verse 2, He said, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He said, then you will be able to appreciate God's will, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So the will of God may not initially seem pleasing, seem good, seem perfect, but to be able to trust God and follow Him, you need strength. So the Bible says, remember our Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. You need strength to do that in our highly pluralistic world, in a world where you are bombarded with so much information. And in the midst of those information, I want you to know it makes it difficult to pick the option of God, because you know that other option, that other option, that other option. So the question is, why follow God's way? The Bible said again in our Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 16, He said, when you come to the crossroad, stand, ask for the ancient path and walk in it, that you may find rest for your soul. Standing takes strength. When there is pressure on you, pressure to take a decision, pressure to act quickly, pressure to do something immediately, to wait appears to be weakness, but truly to wait is strength. That is what the Bible says. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. It is in that strength they are able to follow the good way, and then eventually they find rest, ultimately, not immediately. So you need to pray and say, God, give me strength in your will. And when we are talking about the will of God, one of the places where Jesus did the most significant battle for our salvation, many times, arguably, is not at Golgotha. It's at Gethsemane. When you see what happened in the garden in Gethsemane, the Bible told us that Jesus prayed. And different gospels will just say that He prayed just a few words. Lord, if it be thy will, let this cup pass over me. Nevertheless, not my will, let your will be done. Excuse me, I have just said it in less than a minute. But the Bible said He was praying that word, that sentence, for 3 hours. 3 hours He was praying. That was what the disciples heard. The other things were the groanings. The other things were the passionate pleading with heaven. And He was sweating drops like blood. Why? Why? Just to say those few words? He was battling with the will of God. In the flesh, he said, if it be my will, no, not this way. He could see all the way to Calvary. He could see clearly every single thing he was going to go through. He could see Isaiah 53 brought out for him clearly. Remember, Isaiah said, who has believed our story? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? It was revealed to him. If it's not revealed to you, it was revealed to him. To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? So the arm of the Lord was revealed to him. Revealed what? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrow, familiar with suffering, like one from whom men hid their faces. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him and afflicted, but he was pierced for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. As a lamb was led to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers are silent, so he did not open his mouth. And who can speak of his descendants? He was cut off from the land of the living, and for the transgression of my people he was stricken. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. He saw it. Jesus saw what would be demanded of him. He saw the path that had been chosen for him, and it was like, no, if it be my will, let this cup pass over me. But he wrestled with it. He wrestled with it, and he said, not my will, let your will be done. As soon as he yielded to the will of God, the Bible said, angels came, and what did they do? They strengthened him. For what? To walk in the will. You need strength to follow his will. You need strength in his will. Knowing his will is different from executing his will. Some of you, you know the lady God is asking of you to marry. You don't have the strength to execute it. You don't have the strength to follow it up. You know the job God is asking you to take, but when you compare yourself with your friends, you don't have the strength to follow that path. You need strength to follow the path of the will of God. It is his grace. That is what the Bible says. It is he that works in us to will and to do. Willing and doing are two different things. So for Jesus, he received that strength. And did you now see what the Bible said in that Isaiah chapter 53? When you now go to verse 10, he said, but it was the Lord's will to crush him and to cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life a guilt offering, he shall see his offspring and prolong his days. And the will of the Lord shall prosper in his hands. Boom! That is the aim of heaven. That is where the applause of heaven comes. That the will of God prospers in your life. Knowing the will of God doesn't mean it has prospered in you yet. It is when you walk in the will of God, that is when we can say that the will has prospered in you. And I'm asking, is the will of God prospering in you? Did you see how the Bible ended that Isaiah 53? Then he said that verse 12, if you go to verse 12, he said, he will divide the spoil with the strong. God will allow Jesus to divide the spoil with the strong. What do you mean he's dividing the spoil with the strong? We didn't see a strong man. When they beat him, spat on him, pushed him, there's no strength there. When they mocked him, tore his clothes, made him naked, there's no strength there. When they flogged him and he fell on the ground, there's no strength there. When he carried the cross, walked, stumbled, that Joseph or that another person, Simon of Cyrene, had to come to help him bear the cross, where is the strength? When they struck him and put the nails, hung him on the cross there, where is the strength? But that is our thinking. Our value system doesn't see strength in yielding. But in yielding, that is where the true strength is. So remember again, when you go back to the book of Revelations, remember before the scrolls were opened, that the Bible said in the book of Revelations that in heaven, the scrolls were locked up and nobody was found worthy, whether in heaven or underneath the heaven, to open the scrolls. And John wept. He wept because nobody could. But an elder came and told him and said, do not weep. For who? He said, for the Lion of the tribe of Judah is worthy. And he's going to open the scroll. So who was John told was going to do it? The lion. What comes to your mind when you are told about a lion? Strength. When you're told about a lion, boldness. When you're told about a lion, magnificence. When you're told about a lion, enduring strength, conquering strength. So John was told the lion of the tribe of Judah is worthy, and he's going to open the scroll. So put yourself in John's shoes. What was he expecting to see to come out? A lion, of course. Did you observe that all the images we normally put of a lion, a lion, a lion, it's because he was described as a lion, but no lion actually came out. There is no place in the spirit where they saw Jesus as a lion. John was told the lion of the tribe of Judah is worthy. But what did he see coming out? The lamb that was slain. That was the lion. That's the lion. The lamb, not just a lamb, not a bull, not a wild ram, a lamb. To make it worse, the lamb had been slain. And the whole court of heaven rose and declared, worthy is the lamb that was slain. But you introduced him as the lion. But it was a lamb that came out. Because true strength is not in holding yourself. True strength is in yielding. He that yields to the will of God is stronger than he that is defiant with the will of God. For Jonah to be running into Tarshish, that is not strength, that is weakness. For you to be cheating in the exam hall, that is not strength, that is weakness. For you, young girl, to have 3 boyfriends, 4 boyfriends, and be sexually active and promiscuous, that is not strength, that is weakness. For you to retaliate in anger and hate another person and go with vengeance and seek out vendetta, that is not strength, that is weakness. But we live in a world that has turned these values, and the world that tells us that when you revenge, that is strength. The world that says when you are bold, when you refuse to yield, when you refuse to bow to God, when you carve out your path, when you seek out your independence, when you're independent in your mind, when you don't depend on God, when you show by your life that you don't need God, the world tells you that you are strong. No, that is wrong. You are weak, because only the strong walk in the will of the Lord. And I say to you, you can't finish well by just knowing the will of God. You are strong in His will when you find it and you receive the grace to execute it. It is in doing that that you manifest His glory. The glory of God is reserved for those who walk in His will. And I say to you, are you walking in His will? Are you seeking His will for mental knowledge? Or are you asking for strength to execute it? As soon as you step out in His will, miracles are about to happen. And I say to you today, be strong in the will of God.